Do not fear. Saf is here, and this is Saf Buxy from Saf Surgery, Spirituality Gone Wild, and we're here another Thursday. What a show we had last week with La Diva, man. That girl can play. That girl can play the piano. It's like a cross between Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, yeah, and Little Richard. She was amazing. It was such a pleasure. Same about the sound quality, but hey, that's what happens. But at least we got to see a bit of a clip of hers that's pre-recorded. Guys, welcome. This is Thursday night. This is Inspirational People, Inspirational Stories. Let's just get all the other stuff out the way. Please come and see me on a Monday night at Sky TV, Sky Channel 191, Sky Showcase, Feel Good Factor TV. I'm on at 9:30 p.m. for Men's Talk, and we've got a great show coming up on Monday night. Next Tuesday, I'm back again with myself and TJ Woodward on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, where we'll be talking about addiction, trauma, and mental health. And again, next Thursday, we're back. But look, let's get on with today. My guest today is such a special lady, and the way, you know, we've been communicating back and forth for a while now, and I'm so happy that she's come on, and it's a nice story how she's come on. Her name's Leanne Naylor. She's an award-winning clinical lead within the NHS, and for you folks across the pond, NHS is the National Health Service in the UK. Leanne is also a therapist, a hypnotherapist, and a sleep consultant. Now, that's one thing I don't have a problem with, is sleeping, but hey, we'll find out more about it. She's got over 15 years experience of working within mental health, supporting both adults and children. Wonderful work she does. And during this time, Leanne has been seeing firsthand how sleep is a key component to our mental well-being and overall functioning, through both her work within various mental health services and her own lived experience in which her own sleep issues once greatly impacted her life, and we want to hear all about that. Leanne is passionate about sleep. Well, you have to be if you're gonna, do you know what I mean? I'm passionate about sleep as well. Trust me, all I do is sleep when I'm not working. And she's passionate about sleep and helping others to resolve their sleep issues, and it's often presenting to numerous different professionals all over the south of England. She can also be found as a guest speaker on many podcasts talking about all things sleep, helping professionals and entrepreneurs overcome their sleep issues without the need for medication or years of therapy. She is in Kent, which is a small world because I'm in Kent as well, so I'm interested to find out whereabouts in Kent she is. But she's in Kent in the UK with her partner, and she enjoys time out in the countryside walking with her pug. I love a pug. Anyway, look, without further ado, Leanne, it's so great to have you here. And join us, Leanne. Where you at? Oh, here you are.
Hey, hi, Saf.
How you doing, Leanne? Oh, you know, finally we got on. So
I know.
I'm so happy you're on. How you doing? How you been?
Really well, thanks. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Got a couple of messages. I'm not sure who they all are. Kelly, hello, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. She goes, hello, Saf, and everybody. So she's saying hi.
Yeah.
And we have someone who's got a message. The mess of messages. We had you last week. I'm not sure who you are, but he or she has put 07, whatever that means.
Okay.
Welcome and welcome to our show. And Kelly, today I just want to honor you, and I want to learn. I want to learn a bit about you. I can hear some kind of feedback.
So
can you not hear it on your side?
I can slightly, but I can still hear you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you can tell me, if anyone who's listening can hear the feedback when I'm talking, please let us know in the chat. It'd be good to know, because we don't want to. But the fact is, the feedback's happening when I'm talking. So today's not about me. Today's about Leanne. So it's not the end of the world. But Leanne, you live in Kent. Whereabouts in Kent?
I do indeed. Yeah. I live on St Mary's Island, which is in North Kent.
Whereabouts?
St Mary's Island, so near Chatham.
Yeah. Well, we're not a million miles away from each other.
Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Maidstone.
I thought you were. I was going to say, I thought you were only down the road.
Yeah. And then prior to that, you were living in Surrey.
Yeah, I was in Surrey for a good few years. I know, 13, 14 years, I think.
And whereabouts in Surrey is that?
Well, Surrey and North Hampshire, really. So Guildford, Fleet, Camberley.
Wow. I went to boarding school in Frensham in Farnham,
Oh,
and
did you? Yeah,
yeah,
I know Farnham and
yeah,
Frensham. We used to go there a
yes,
lot.
yeah. We're talking many, many years ago, way before you were born. I was there, but
Oh, I don't
God,
know.
yeah. I know Camberley, I know Godalming, Fleet very well. A lot of my friends still live there, so yeah. So it's
Oh, right. Oh, wow. Small world indeed.
all what it is now. Let's see. Right, there is feedback. Someone says maybe she had the speakers on. Do you have your speakers on? No.
No.
But
Not.
Kelly's now saying it's better now. Thanks, Kelly, and thanks,
Okay.
Mess of Messages. I love to know who Mess of Messages is, but it's slightly better. But I think it only happens when I'm speaking, even though I'm not sure. But anyway, so look, so now you're in Kent. Kelly's saying she was in Guildford in 2016. Just want to, you know what? I just want to start really from the beginning,
Mhm.
Leanne.
Yeah.
Just where you've come from. Obviously, we've heard a little bit about Surrey, and now you're in Kent. But just a bit about a young Leanne, just to see a bit of background. You know, obviously, whatever you're comfortable with sharing, but just how you were brought up and how you got to doing what you're doing today. I mean, we'd love to know how someone gets to work in the mental health field, to get to work with sleep patterns and sleep therapy, and everything that you're doing today is wonderful work, and I think it will help a lot of people. So please,
Oh,
over to you. The stage is yours.
thank you, Saf. You're very kind. Okay, so people might have picked up in my accent already. It's a bit of a patchwork accent because I actually spent a lot of my childhood, my early years, in the Peak District and around about sort of Peak District in Sheffield, in the north of England. Then moved to Bristol when my parents divorced, and spent many years there before moving then to Surrey. And I got into mental health nurse. Well, I did psychology first, actually. So I went to uni, did psychology, then did my nurse training in mental health and specialised and went from there, basically. And did many more qualifications and training, you know, becoming a sleep consultant, hypnotherapy, CBT, psychotherapy. So lots of different models of therapy, modes of therapy. And during that, my nurse mental health training, and also from my own experience with sleep, it was becoming more and more aware, particularly as I was working as well in mental health, how big an issue sleep is for so many people. And it was never really, in my view, being addressed as a key issue. It was always, oh, and sleep. So, you know, there's always somebody who have depression, oh, and they're not sleeping very well, or they're really anxious and they're not sleeping very well. It was never, oh my gosh, let's look at your sleep because your sleep's terrible and that could be causing the anxiety or the depression. It was always looking at the other things first and foremost. So sleep was always kind of like second in line or even further down, really, in a lot of cases. So I noticed that quite early on, and I knew it needed to change, basically. And then I had my own sleep issues and I've had them on and off. Now, on reflection, you know, these sleep issues I had started when I was a small child. My poor mum. But from all accounts, I never slept until I was about 10. Literally, I'd sleep, I know, maybe 2 or 3 hours a night. So my poor parents weren't quite sure what to do with me. I was very hyperactive as a child and didn't really like to sleep, apparently. Anyway, then it settled down as a teenager. I became a usual teenager wanting to stay in bed till like midday. And then as I got older and I got myself into a couple of toxic relationships, shall we say. I'm not a dating expert, that's for sure. My sleep then became more erratic and less stable, if you like. And it would come in waves. So sometimes I'd sleep really well, sleep perfectly, wonderfully. And then other times, particularly if I was feeling stressed or had exams or moving house, you know, a usual kind of big life stressor, my sleep would just completely get thrown out of sync completely. And it was horrendous. I would be up for hours, sometimes all night, trying to sleep. And I'd probably only get about, I don't know, sometimes 20 minutes. And that would be sort of 20 minutes max. And then I'd be awake for hours. Then I'd get 20, I might doze off for another 20 minutes. And then I'd be awake for hours. And this went on and off, like I said before. And then it got to the point where it happened again. And I wasn't sleeping properly for months. So that lack of sleep, that pattern I've just talked about there went on for a good few months.
Wow.
And yeah, how I managed to get through those few months and still be surviving, if you like, I'm not quite sure, but I did, thankfully. And I realised then that, you know, I had to do something about this. I had to get to the root cause of it. So I had therapy, and it was the best thing I ever did. I got right to what it was, and touch wood. I've not had a problem since, and I sleep perfectly. Doesn't matter what stresses I've got going on in my life. I don't have any problems now getting to sleep or staying asleep. And yeah, my life is so much better for it, because, you know, if you think about the hierarchy of needs, you know, the triangle, and your basic needs are all at the bottom. They're the ones that we have to meet, our primary needs. Sleep's in there. It's one of the main things. So sleep underpins every single aspect of our life. So without good quality sleep, that means that every aspect of our life is going to be impacted, particularly if we're having long-term sleep issues that are just going unresolved or, you know, ongoing.
Sleep is so. Thank you for that, Leanne. I've got a couple of messages. Scott, who's a hi Hope. Hope is putting a thumbs up. Scott, who's one of our co-creators at Spirituality Gone Wild, and I call him the SDW Wim Hof. The guy's amazing. In fact, I want to show with him tomorrow night if you want to see it. I think 4:45 UK time. He's from the United States, and he says sleep is by far the most important, and is a badge of honor for people who hustle and get little sleep. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
Kelly says when she was young, she didn't like to sleep, and now she loves to dream. She loves dreaming. So thanks for that, Kelly. So yeah, sleep is so key, isn't it, in all types of functioning? I mean, my experience, and I don't know if you've come across with clients like this, and I guess it's the easy one to help, is the only time that I really had a problem with sleep is when I was off my face of cocaine and crystal meth, because I never slept. Literally, I never slept. I mean, in particular with the latter ice, crystal meth, you know, you can stay awake for weeks. And I could tell, even though I was intoxicated on a regular basis, I could tell that it was disturbing my insides, and it was messing me up big time, and I was getting paralysis and cramp in my body, and obviously eventually when you come off it and you don't go back on it for a while, you just sleep because you haven't slept.
Yeah.
Do you come across clients who find it hard to sleep because it's been drug induced?
Yes, I have, and interestingly, that links into something I was going to talk about tonight, actually, which is trauma, because most sleep issues, with the exception, maybe I'd say the exception of drug use, but actually it does include it as well, but in a different context. Insomnia is learned. Okay, we're not born with insomnia. We're born to sleep. Sleep is innate. Okay, so insomnia is like a learned behaviour, if you like. However, with drugs, the drugs are impacting the mind and the way in which the nerves work, the cells talk to each other and communicate, and also taking drugs ruins your sleep hygiene. Any patterns or routine or structure that you may have once had will all be out the window, because life is all about the drugs, isn't it? So, and obviously the chemicals in the drugs impacting the brain and wanting to keep you awake. But usually then what happens is a sleep issue, whether it's insomnia or just disturbed sleep, because there's a difference, then becomes almost habitual. And it's about a lack of control or feeling out of control. And emotions like not feeling worthy, not feeling enough. And then you can get anxiety, you see. So it all kind of spirals then out of control. And it loops around in a circle. A little bit like, in cognitive behavioural therapy, actions, behaviours, consequences and all of that. So, and underlying that, often this feeling of not being in control, the anxiety and things like that, and these emotions of not feeling enough or not feeling loved, is trauma. And then one of the biggest things that underpins addiction is a form of trauma. So can you see now how it all interlinks together? And if you don't, there could be underlying trauma, for example, that then impacts your ability to sleep. You don't sleep, so then you take drugs, whether they're legal or not. You know, things like benzodiazepines are legal, but they're highly addictive and are quite easily prescribed these days for sleep. So, you know, or taking cocaine and things like that, like you were saying, then you don't sleep, or you take those things and you don't sleep, and it goes around and around. Or it can have the opposite effect. So you don't sleep, so you do take those things because you can't sleep. And again, you see, so it works both ways, vice versa. It's very complex, and I would say usually 9 out of 10 times it's all due to trauma.
So sleep. So people who experience sleep disturbance, and you differentiate that between that and insomnia.
Yeah, because you can have sleep disturbance, you know, where your sleep isn't, you're struggling to get to sleep because you might be worrying about work the next day, or you've got some family issues going on. So you might have a couple of nights where you can't get to sleep, or you wake up for the same reasons, you know, worries and things like that, stuff's on your mind. That's disturbed sleep. That's what I call disturbed sleep. Whereas insomnia is generally categorized by having at least 3 or more nights a week consistently, where you're waking at least 3 times a night, and that's going on for at least 3 months. So 3, 3, 3 is the easy way to think about it. Are you waking 3 times or more a night? If so, are you waking 3 or more times per week? And has that been going on for 3 or more months? Usually, it's a very simple way of looking at the difference between disturbed sleep and, say, insomnia.
And you treat both patients, insomnia and
insomnia and disturbed sleep. Yeah, I've worked with people who didn't even realise they had a sleep issue at first. I worked with one lady who she on reflection realised she'd not actually slept properly for nearly 4 decades. And by that I mean she'd struggled to get to sleep often. She would then get to sleep and then she might wake at least twice a night. So she couldn't remember when she'd last slept for a good, say, 7+ hours without waking or without taking her 2 hours to fall asleep. Until she came to me. She saw one of my posts and thought, oh, that's me. I didn't even realise I had a sleep problem. I just thought, you know, I'm just not a good sleeper.
And you're a believer that sleep is more often than not related to some kind of trauma.
Yeah, and that doesn't have to be, how do I put this? The big things. Okay, so, you know, things that people automatically assume, like neglect or physical abuse or something like that. You know, it can be, and often there is big amounts of trauma there, but not always. So things like being bullied on the school bus going to school when you're a child, or not feeling that, you know, your role within the family dynamics was the same before your younger brother or sister was born. You know, because some of those more sort of lower level, quite common things that children experience growing up. But actually, it's all about how it's perceived by that person. Trauma is as much about the perception as the actuality of it. So if that person perceives to have been neglected because, I know, they didn't get as many hugs as their younger brother or sister once they were born, and they felt like they were a little bit pushed out in terms of the family dynamics, that can be enough at that young age when the mind is still young and still developing to feel traumatized, although they weren't purposely neglected by their parents at all. It's just the family dynamics and what happens often when another sibling comes along. But for that young person particularly, it could feel like that, but the next person it wouldn't. Do you see what I mean? So it's all about the individual perception of things as well, which is really, really important.
On my Tuesday show, Universal Recovery, just this week gone, I had Jeremy Miller, who's part of Conscious Recovery with TJ Woodward, and we talk a lot about trauma, and we try and stay away from big T, little T trauma. We believe trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
because to someone else it might be not big, to someone else it might be small. It's not about what it is to them. It's what it is to you personally, and
Exactly.
it comes in various forms, and trauma and addiction is very much linked. I mean, Dr. Gabor Mate always says it's not why the addiction, it's why the pain.
Exactly that. I love him.
Do you like Dr. Gabor? Yeah, I saw him. I saw him a
Did
couple of
you?
years ago in London. Yeah. We had I went
I'm
to one.
envious.
Yeah, I mean, he's so knowledgeable and he's so clever and he's so experienced. It's amazing. He's a bit. He's not lively enough for me. I like someone bada bing.
He's very chilled, isn't he? Very calm, laid back. Yeah.
He is chill, but he knows his stuff, so you can't. When TJ, who's my co-host on the show on Tuesday, but if you had a chance to see it for University Recovery, he's on the same platform as Dr. Gabor.
I saw that because I've seen him on some of your shows recently. He's really good. I like it. Yeah, he did remind me actually.
Yeah, we're on it's our show on a Tuesday night. So it's myself and TJ. So he's on wholehearted.org, I think, with Dr. Gabor. So check him out. Oh, we've got a few messages. Where we got? Jed. Hi, Jed. Good to see you. Jed says chemical withdrawal is rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly goes on and says, since I heard Saf and Jeremy, I've been charting my body reactions to stress. Tell us more, Kelly. I'd love to hear that. And Jed again. Jed says, when I was growing up, I was falling asleep with mama and dad fighting and partying. I have restless sleeps sometimes still. Over to you, Leanne. I'm pretty sure you've heard stories like that regularly.
Yeah. So I mean, without obviously finding out a bit more and what have you, but that sounds to me like there's an element of not feeling safe there, because the fact that you're even mentioning that tells me that is something that's very set in your mind. As it's very clearly remembered. It's very clearly imprinted in your mind. And if you're a young child and you're trying to fall asleep and you can hear your parents arguing and what have you, you're going to feel scared. You're going to feel unnerved. You're not going to feel safe. You're not going to feel secure. You're going to feel worried and anxious possibly as well. So all those things that are going on in that young person's mind, you're going to carry through. So I would say there's definitely a connection there. Yeah.
Could it, and just playing devil's advocate, could it work the other way? Whereas someone is used to hearing noise, is used to hearing argument, and they learn to fall asleep because they want to sleep. And then later on in adult life, that noise and those arguments aren't there. And then they're finding it difficult to sleep. Could it work the other way as well?
It can do. It's not quite as common, but it can. Yeah, because if that's something that you have been used to, see, the mind loves what's familiar. Okay, it's the basis of it. Whether it's good or bad, that's irrespective. It doesn't look or think about that. It just likes what's familiar, which is why it's so easy for us to form addictions and bad habits. So if your mind is used to hearing that to fall asleep to, and then suddenly it's taken away, then it's going to find it very difficult to sleep without it, isn't it? Because that's what it's used to. That's what it's familiarized with. So yeah, it does. It can work that way as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, obviously, before you, I guess, realised your own sleeping issues growing up, what made you want to go into the field of mental health and the field of for helping others? Because there's always a story behind that. I know my reason why I got in, but I was wondering what was your. I mean, did you wake up one day? You know, when they ask you, "So, what do you want to be when you grow up?" I'm doubting you said you want to be a mental health professional.
You'd be right.
Yeah. What?
No, I mean, I flitted through. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a fighter pilot at first, but obviously having glasses, that was.
I'll go to sleep when you're flying, eh?
No. So then I changed my mind. I thought, I know, I'll go and be a lawyer. That would be great. I can go and, help with the injustices in the world. And then I started looking more into psychology, and I went down a psychology route first. So I did that. and then wanted to go into psychiatric nursing and specialise in that area because you've got a different perception, should we say, by doing that. So I had the best of both the psychology background and the mental health and psychiatric perceptions, which stood me really in really good ground. So that's how it all started, really. And going back to what you're saying about why did I go into psychology then? Why did I want to go into mental health and things like that? I think because part of my childhood was wonderful, started off great, and then my teenage years were not quite so good. So there's a lot of issues with family dynamics. I ended up living with my nan from the age of 14. So I had a lot of struggles with my role within my own family, and lack of parenting role models, I suppose, as well. Especially my parents were divorced as well by that point. Didn't really see my dad then either. My mum struggled with her own issues. So it's all very fragmented. And I think that probably was the underlying kind of subconscious workings going on in my mind, which then pushed me towards an interest in psychology, and then, going into mental health work and working with young people and adults. So I could kind of really empathise, I suppose, with the teenagers that I work with, when they're coming from less stabilised backgrounds, should we say. So I think that's probably where it all comes from.
And where can we find you? Where can people find you? Obviously, we've got your website at the bottom, so I guess they can get all the information from there. I guess if they go into your website,
they can. If you go straight to my website at www.leannenaylor.com, there's a button there you can contact me with. Just fill out the form with your name and your details and what it is you want me to help you with sleep-wise. Any questions you've got. I'm on Facebook, Leanne Naylor. And I've also got my Facebook business page as well. And I've got a sleep group as well on Facebook, which is all about sleep, funnily enough. Tips, advice, discussion around sort of sleep, trauma, anxiety, all different sleep-related things.
What's your favorite modality? When someone comes and let's talk about sleep disturbance. And it's, as you rightly say, I think stress and worrying about something too much can definitely disturb your sleep. I mean, I could probably guess some of the stuff that you might use, but I want to hear from you, Leanne. What do you use? I come to you and say, look, Leanne, I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about this. I think it's connected to my sleeping. I'm waking up and I'm stressed, and then by the time I get up in the morning, I feel so tired and so drained. Help me.
Yeah.
Help me. What sort of work would you do with me?
I want to know, first of all, what was your primary need? Because everyone comes with a list of things usually, all right? And sleep is here, and then underneath that is lots of different things going on. So we want to pinpoint the most pressing first of all, and work with things individually. And I'd want to know a bit about your history and things as well, medications and stuff like that. So do a whole consultation, whole assessment of your whole life, looking at it holistically from every aspect. And then there's different options, really. So I use something called rapid transformational therapy, which is a combination of psychotherapy, cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, hypnosis. And that's really good because that works with the subconscious mind, you see, and that's where all the magic is, in the subconscious mind, because that's where all our thoughts, beliefs, core beliefs, all the things we think about ourselves, all the beliefs that we've ever formed about ourselves that we may or may not even know about, that's where they're all hidden, all locked away in there. So that's why that's really super powerful. And then using those kinds of techniques and those different therapy modalities, that enables me to help people resolve their sleep issues pretty quickly. So rather than having therapy ongoing for, say, a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5, whatever, because it works quicker, because I'm working with the subconscious as well as the conscious mind, then, often I can do that in just a few sessions. And then the other kind of things that I use a little bit of DBT as well. So that's dialectical behavioural therapy, which I'm also trained in, because often some people will come to me struggling to manage and regulate their emotions, because obviously if you're not sleeping, it's very, very hard to manage and regulate your emotions effectively. So it might be that we do a bit of work on that first, help things to calm down, help them to regulate a little better, and then go and dig into the subconscious mind with the sleep work. I also do lots of practical strategies as well. So, things like no gadgets before bed. So I'll help people write up or plan a sleep hygiene routine and a daily routine, because the two go hand in hand. There's no point having a wonderful sleep routine if your day routine is absolutely, non-existent. It's not going to be very
really
helpful.
interesting. That's really interesting.
So, yeah.
Plan your sleep and plan your day.
Yeah, routine, because again, the mind likes what's familiar and it loves routine. Innately, as humans, we love structure and routine. We love familiarity. So it's really, really important. Absolutely. For adults and children, that is.
But I don't think I can do without my gadget before I go to bed, man. If I didn't have my gadget, man, I'll be lost, Leanne. Like most of my viewers would be lost. It'd be like a drug dealer taking my drugs away. You know what I mean? What do I do?
Read?
But I read on my phone. It's okay.
No, you need a proper book. One of these old-fashioned things.
Oh, that's old school, Leanne. That's old school. Well, I'm saying that my book's coming out soon, so please, I think she's got a point.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because and you never think of it like that, because when someone goes for something, you think it's just about that, but it's about planning for whilst you're awake as well. It's getting
definitely.
a routine, it's getting a structure, it's getting things into place. What about breathing and meditation? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, I was just about, those as well. Breathing's really, really key to help regulate your breathing, to get enough oxygen in as well, because often we don't. And meditation is absolutely top of the list.
Is that night time or in the day, or is there a specific time that you'd recommend?
I wouldn't say a specific time necessarily. Whatever suits you and your lifestyle, I would say. You want, particularly if it's not something you're used to doing, so it's not familiar. So if it's a new habit you're trying to form, then fitting it in as and when you can, and just doing 5 minutes of a guided meditation to begin with is fine. That's really good. A really good start. And you want it to fit. It doesn't matter when. You just fit it into your day, because the easier you can fit it in, the more likely you're going to do it. Less excuses, less chance of procrastinating about doing it and then not. And using guided meditations to begin with, I think is really useful, because a lot of people, to begin with, need that. It's really useful to guide you, and you can find lots of those around. I also have some that I do for people on an individual basis. Some people do them generically, which is really good as well. I like to keep mine specific to each person. And also visualization, you see, is key, because the mind, as well as loving what's familiar, works on what we feed it, and how we nurture it. And by that, I mean it works on the words that we use about ourselves, the language we use, and the pictures that we feed it. So it's really important that we are feeding it with positive goodness, and not negative stuff. I won't mention any particular types of TV, but just it's not good to be sitting there watching the soaps all day and watching stuff that isn't stimulating the mind and isn't positive. So I always say, particularly with the younger people that I work with, avoid things like horror films, which I know might sound a bit strange, but the amount of young people these days that are watching horror films or watching horrific computer games is astounding. And at the young age, say 10, 11, 12, the mind isn't ready for that. It's still developing hugely. So it's about being aware about these things and feeding and nourishing it with nice goodness. If we want to stay fit and healthy, we're going to eat nice, healthy, nourishing foods. Well, it's the same with the mind. If you're going to feed it crap, it's not going to work so well. Basically,
I think nutrition and exercise, it all plays a part. It all helps with the sleep. I've got a couple of comments. Jed. Oh, Jed saying, mess of messages, appreciate this. I'd love to know who you are. Jed says,
Oh,
I have lived through this trauma for years. This is the trauma of mum and dad shouting and making noise at night. Learning to face my fears and become the maker of what I want to live for, facing my fears and rising. Good on you, Jed. Uh,
yeah, funny.
Kelly has said a few things. Kelly, if you want to contact me privately, I'll be happy to have a talk about what you've experienced. To be we could talk about that in a private chat, or just message me. We can chat. Jed goes on and says fragmentation is a wonderful tool to use. Most fragmentation begins by trauma, so now we find how to traumatize positively to flip the script. Amen.
Yeah, flipping the
Amen.
script.
Amen. Amen. Jed. Beautiful. Thank you. Right, you know what, Leanne, this has been fascinating. So,
Thank you.
I'm assuming a lot of the work you do now is over Zoom at the
It
moment.
is, yeah. And actually, I was a bit worried about it to begin with, but it works wonderfully. I love it. So I work with people all over the world because everyone's got a phone or a laptop. Nearly everyone now knows how to use Zoom or similar kind of platforms.
Yeah.
And so I can work with anyone anywhere, which is great.
Yeah,
And I
good.
love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I share the same because obviously I do all my work on the computer, and again, it gives us the opportunity to work with people all over the world, which is great. And even this show, Inspirational People, Inspirational Stories, is eventually will be on over 300 platforms. So people
Wow.
all over the world will hopefully be seeing this and hopefully be wanting to, get in touch with you. Guys, www.leannenaylor.com. It's on the bottom of there. Please contact Leanne if you've specifically got issues of any sleep uh, or anything, really stress, anxiety. I'm sure Leanne can guide you and help you through
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah, I
But
work with anxiety as well. It comes hand in hand with sleep issues generally, and and I do group work as well. So some corporate work for businesses and things like that on helping their employees improve their sleep to then improve their productivity, focus, and concentration. Because it's all again interlinked, as well as my one-to-one work as well.
and I wanna make it clear to everyone. One, this is not a quick fix. Leanne does not believe in medication. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Her treatment is not about giving medication or giving drugs or alcohol, because yes, we know that that can lead to sleep, but there's also consequential outcomes from doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah,
Leanne is all therapeutic. She uses all different therapeutic modalities. That doesn't include that. We're not disregarding that in some circumstances. What we're saying is that if you want to have a holistic approach treatment to help you sleep, go to Leanne and she will show you ways that you can do it without taking medication or drugs. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
exactly that. Yeah, I'm not anti-medication. I
No,
just don't believe. Well, I know that medication doesn't resolve sleep. It might help it temporarily, but it doesn't get to the root cause of the issue. So
right.
it's an interim measure for some, and that's fine. But people just need to remember that it's not going to actually resolve the sleep issue necessarily. So it's always best to the answer always lies within. Is what I like to say.
Beautiful. Look within, look intrinsically,
Exactly.
and externally, everything will be fine. One thing before I want to finish on, if I may, Jed, Kelly saying beautiful, Jed saying artificial gratification is incomplete grasping at nothing to feel. Thanks, Jed, as always. I started looking at things on a cellular level.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of things on a cellular level?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? And I'm
I love
sure,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's correlation with sleep patterns on a cellular level. Maybe similar to what Jed's story was, where because obviously memory is not just in the brain; it's an organ and cells and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I know they're trying to prove it all fully, but I know there's studies that are going on, and I wonder if that's because trauma obviously is also stored in different places.
Yes.
Subconsciously. I remember I had a client come to me and say, "I've never had trauma in my life," and then we worked together, and I think on the third or fourth session, we agreed that there was. He said a story to me, and there was trauma there, even though it wasn't done to him. but he saw this, and that's looking at certain things at such a young age. Of course, it can be very traumatic, and then we worked with that and stuff. But it was there at a cellular level. What's your, just before we finish? What's your take on looking at sleep on a cellular level?
Oh, it's
That's another show, isn't it?
It's
That's
definitely
another
high up
show.
there, yeah. Because I'm thinking of somebody I've worked with recently, actually, and during one of the sessions, she was talking about this feeling here in the chest and the stomach, which is linked into the solar plexus, and the energy around that and things as well as cell mutation and things like that. So it's definitely there. It's definitely something that I'm interested in, that I read about, and I use some of those skills if that's required in the session. We go with what comes up. But yeah, I definitely agree that there's definitely a connection there on the cellular level.
Thank you, Leanne. Just a last word to you, to the audience, and to people who are watching live, and the people who will be watching this later, regarding sleep, or regarding you, regarding everything you do. Any last bit of advice you'd like to share?
I would say, sleep's innate. Okay, so we're born with it. Insomnia is learned. So if you can learn it, you can unlearn it. Okay, and you can do that relatively easily. It's not easy peasy. It's not an overnight fix, but you can do it. And it's an inside job. We've got to look inside, not outside, for the answers. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leanne. It's been a great interview.
Thank you, Saf.
Yeah,
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, it's been proper, man. Hopefully you can join us again in the future.
Sure.
On whatever platform I may be on in the future. We don't know, the way things are moving, it's like, wow. But thanks again, Leanne. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, Saf.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, guys. That was Leanne Naylor. What an amazing person that she does. And it's so lovely to meet someone who actually focuses on something that's so important in our life, and that's sleep. That's sleep. Like we say, body and mind connection. I think sleep and the structure of sleep and the structure of what you do during the day is so important. I think the biggest thing I got out of that was structure, and to work towards a structure, and to make little changes, because it doesn't have to be drastic, but if it helps you sleep, and we know how important sleep is. We spoke very briefly about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and sleep and food and all that is there. Yeah, these are the essentials. This is what we should all be doing, and that's why sleep is important. And sleep is probably the most important thing for you to be able to function in whatever you do during the day. Hence, structure on both sides is great. But that was amazing. Thanks, Leanne. If you want to contact Leanne, her website is on the bottom, www.leannenaylor.com. If you want to contact her through me, just give me a message. Or www.safbuxy.com, or info@safbuxy.com, or give me a message on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, come to my website and we'll check you out. Thanks, guys, for another great show. Inspirational people, inspirational stories, and what an inspirational Leanne is. The work she does, it's phenomenal, and she works for National Health Service as well as doing private work. So please check her out. As always, you'll see me on Monday night on Sky Channel 191, Sky Showcase Feel Good Factor TV. I'm on Men's Talk at 9:30. The actual channel starts at 8 o'clock. So please come and watch me there. Tuesday, I'm again with TJ Woodward next week, live at 6 p.m. UK time. Universal Recovery live on Facebook and YouTube, and we're here again next Thursday. And next Thursday we have a double act, yet to get confirmed, but I'm sure it's going to be great. And we may have a little celebrity coming up soon. I don't want to give too much away, just in case she says no to me, but hopefully she'll say yes. So guys, thank you very much. This has been Inspirational People, Inspirational Stories. I am Saf Buxy, Saf Surgery, Spirituality Gone Wild. Till next time, stay safe and sleep well.